Welcome to the Telabs Optical LAN Softswitch Voice Series video, Voice Service Activation and Troubleshooting. The purpose of this video is to provide instruction on the installation and activation of analog phone lines in the Telabs Optical LAN system. Additionally, this video will cover some common troubles associated with voice line activation. The topics covered in this video will be an overview of the analog voice line activation process, the procedure to install and activate analog phone lines, and some troubleshooting practices for common analog phone problems. To activate the analog phone line in an optical LAN system, properties of the ONT will need to be provisioned for Softswitch interaction. Then the phone lines will need to be assigned a service profile and a call features profile. To provision the ONT for Softswitch, open the properties of the ONT and select the Voice over IP tab. Ensure that the voice personality is set for Softswitch. Set the VLAN to the voice VLAN established for the service. Leave the tconfig specifications and assign the equipment profile created for the ONT. The default profile should be adequate unless you're using TLS to encrypt the SIP path. Apply the selections and refresh the view. The only method of IP address assignment in Softswitch is via DHCP. There must be a DHCP server set up, and it must hand out an IP address and a DNS entry. To configure the voice line, go to the Ports application in Panorama. Select the Voice tab. The voice lines are listed by address starting with CS1. This list is contextual to the equipment selected in the tree view. Provisioning can be applied to this chart for each phone line listed. The AOR URI field defines the SIP address of record and how to contact the line. The typical format is SIP, phone number, @switch IP or hostname. The contact URI user is the phone number of the line and is filled in automatically if the AOR is correct. The Softswitch username and password are used to log into the switch for authentication purposes. Most installations use this to authenticate the phone to the switch. If authentication is off, then anything can be entered here. These fields will only be used if the switch challenges a registration or a call attempt. Each phone line needs to be assigned a service profile and a call features profile. Creation of these profiles is explained in the previous video in this series. Finally, the line must be activated in order to register with the switch. The voice line can be verified on the Voice Status tab. A working line will show a registration state of registered. Alternatively, if a large number of phone lines needs to be entered, bulk provisioning can be used. Bulk provisioning relies on a CSV file to be created with the phone line provisioning information entered. To use the bulk provisioning tool, go to Tools, Bulk Configuration. Choose Voice Line as the import type. Then click Open to find the CSV file created for the new phone lines. Select Execute. The tool will attempt to configure each line. The status area will show if each addition was successful. If the line is not operating as expected, go to the Voice over IP tab of the ONT properties. If an IP address is not present, then look at DHCP, networking, and the VLAN. Without an IP address, nothing will work. A DHCP server must be set up and should be handing out a DNS entry via DHCP. Static IPs are not supported for Softswitch voice. The tconfig statistics information confirms whether the ONT has its configuration data. If successful polls a 0, then tconfig has never communicated and networking or tconfig setup problem exists. Look at tconfig properties files on the EMS and at the IP address configured in the properties file and the NE. Each time the refresh profile button is used, the successful polls should increment. Last polled on tells you the time of the last successful poll. This can provide a clue as to when it last talked to the EMS. In the Voice Status tab of the Ports application, Registration State provides the state of a line. Initializing is a temporary state. If it persists, then there may be a problem with some configuration on the voice line or voice profiles. Registered means the line is registered with the switch and should have dial tone. Authentication failure typically means the Softswitch login is wrong. Confirm that the Softswitch username and password are correct. Also, check the service profile that defines the authentication realm for the switch. The most common setting on most switches for the realm is the switch's IP address. Call state can also help diagnose wiring problems. If the line is registered and off hook, but shows up on the dialog as idle, then there's likely a wiring problem. This concludes this video. In it, we have discussed an overview of the analog voice line activation process, the procedure to install and activate analog phone lines, and some troubleshooting practices for common analog phone line problems.